Hi, everybody. Come on in and check your audio settings. We will get started at 12:15. Hi, come on in to our LionSide Chat. You can go ahead and make sure you can hear us and see us, and we will get started at 12:15. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. My name is Dawn Pfeiffer-Wrights, and I am your moderator today for our LionSide Chat. I'm one of the three moderators that works with our chats featuring Sonia De La Cueto and Ryan Hassler. I am excited to have everybody in attendance, and we are looking forward to getting started. So come on in, welcome to our campus. We're so glad you can join us today. Before we get going, though, I want to just point out a couple of housekeeping items. We will be utilizing the chat function today, so we do ask that everybody uses the chat if called upon by our guest speaker today, and we will be taking questions and answers at the end of our session. So please feel free to keep that in mind. I am not, however, using the raise hands feature. So just keep that in mind. Once our presentation concludes, we will facilitate a conversation through Q&A with our presenter, Kelly Grosser. And we are also recording today's session. And you will be able to find that in the archives on our website in case you wish to review it and share it with friends and family. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter, Kelly Grosser. Kelly is the Director of Youth Empowerment Programs at the YWCA Tri-County, and she is only our second outside chatter in our LionSide Chat series. So congratulations, Kelly, that's pretty cool. Kelly is a great advocate and role model for youth in our area. She's passionate about healthy lifestyles, and she's joining us today as part of our freshman year seminar, first year seminar, We Are series, and We Are Healthy. So Kelly, without any further ado, I will stop my share and I will ask you to start yours, and then we can get started.
All right, let's see. Okay, how are we?
I see all of your stuff, not just your presentation.
No, okay, hang on one second. Just bear with me.
It's all good. So we are excited that everyone is here today. And I know that Kelly has lots of good, Kelly, that's perfect. Lots of great things to share. And I will be here, Kelly. If you need me, just yell. Otherwise, I will keep my ears and eyes attuned to what's going on, and I'll pop in if I need to.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the welcome, and thank you all for spending some time with me in this space today. As Dawn said, my name is Kelly Grosser. I am the Director of Youth Empowerment Programs for YWCA Tri-County area, which is located in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, but serving Berks, Montgomery, and Chester counties. So my work surrounds youth, both boys and girls, in a variety of settings, often in school settings. And I am also a certified health and life coach. And so a lot of the work that I've done in my personal life and my personal passions has really enhanced and worked with my JOB work. So I'm pleased to be here, and I'm excited to kind of work through this journey with you. So hopefully we can, okay, here we go. So I just wanted to really quickly just orient you to the YWC Tri-County area. Our mission is to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And we are committed to getting up and doing the work until injustice is rooted out and institutions are transformed, and until the world sees women, girls, and people of color the way we do: equal, powerful, and unstoppable. And I know that that sometimes sounds like that has nothing to do with health. How does that relate to health? But I assure you that my work and my commitment to this mission is very much health-minded and health-related. So please know that I have been working with teens and adolescents for pretty much my whole adult career. I was a high school English teacher in different parts of the country. I worked in Central Florida and Orlando for a while, and we moved from Orange County to Orange County, California, where I worked with some really diverse groups of kids there as well. And then I've been back here in the Philadelphia area for a number of years, where I'm also raising my own kids. And my health journey really started probably in college of just really understanding what was available to us, the kinds of support that students have access to and don't have access to, what they take advantage of, what gets left on the table. And so our work at the YW, or my work, my department's work, is really about enhancing opportunities to health and wellness for all humans, particularly adolescents. And it's as it correlates with our social justice work. So they kind of go hand in hand. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there. So just for the health of it. So, you start thinking about what will you talk about with health? And I had so many different thoughts, and there's so much I would love to share with you. And I know that I won't have enough time necessarily to do that in this space. But I wanted to just kind of show you. So I went to the World Health Organization and just kind of looked through. It's interesting to think about how the definition of health and what we determine as health has changed and sort of transformed or become, I don't know, it's been improved or expanded, I guess, over a number of years. So you've got, the World Health Organization back in the 1940s talking about already recognizing health as a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely about the absence of disease and infirmity. And so I put this image of the 3 rocks at the top, which just kind of, I always use that as my reminder that this is about integration, right? Integrated health is not just about the food you eat or the lack of disease. And we talk about dis-ease and illness, right? That when we are in dis-ease, whether it is a fundamentally medical background of disease, or if we are just imbalanced in our lives, we may be experiencing a lack of healthfulness. And so when you kind of stack the rocks and you think about, you could think about the alignment of your mind, body, and spirit, your mind, body, and your breath. These are powerful things that we all hold in order to have the best and most well-oriented life. So again, not merely the absence of disease. Health is really looking at physical, mental, and social well-being. And then they upgraded a little bit, but not a lot of change. So there's been this kind of idea of what health is for a long period of time that might kind of shed some light on that. The other image that's on the screen here that I just want you to note for a minute, I think that often when we talk about health, we really get stuck on nutrition, and we're thinking about, what we're eating, if we're exercising, if we're sleeping, if we're drinking enough water. And I'm sure that all of you have been told that those are the things you should do for a healthy life. But really, there's a lot more that goes into it, right? So where you grow up impacts your health. Your zip code, you may or may not realize that the zip code that you grow up in has an impact on your health, how active your communities are, the resources, how safe is it, what kinds of parks and recreation centers you might have. So those kinds of things. Your education, right? Your access to education, access to medical care. How easy is it for you to get to a doctor? And that could be either through doctors being physically present in your community, or it could be more about your insurance or your ability to pay, right? So those things could definitely be having an impact on your health. Where people work, the communities that they're in, their financial ability, right? So all of those things, when we talk about health, I don't want to get stuck on just what you eat and drink and, how you sleep. Those are important for sure, but we would be short-sighted to not recognize that all of these elements play a role in our health. So I was thinking about the things that I would love for us to do. I want to take a minute to relax. I would love to be able to relate, at least to the degree that we can through the chat. I want to release some things. My hope is that you're able to release some things. And I would love for you to feel a sense of renewal when you leave here, that you have a goal and some motivation in mind to make some choices to impact your health in a positive way. So I'm going to ask, if you need a minute, go for it, grab it. I would love for you to have a piece of paper or papers and something to write with for sure. And I would love for you to have access to the chat. So I am going to ask a couple of questions along the way. And I'm hoping that you're able to join me there so we can communicate that way. Okay, so hopefully everybody has those things. So I would love for you to take a minute just to kind of get grounded in the space, wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from. We're all learning in such different environments right now. There is no one normal. And I want you to take a minute and give yourself a pass. So there's a lot happening in our world and around us, in your lives, right? This is just, we know, unprecedented time for you to start your education, for you to have navigated, many of you to have navigated your senior year in high school, to navigate a summer, to navigate your role in your household, and all of those things, in addition to all of the normal social and relational things that are happening around you, not having access to your support network, your people. So whenever I'm in space, especially now with others, I think about what is it that we need to set aside in order to be present in the space for a minute. So I want you to just take a minute and jot down something that is really weighing heavy on your mind that you can give yourself some space from for the next 35 or 40 minutes. So what do you need to give yourself permission to set aside? I can tell you that for some of you, it might just be, I need to be able to put my phone down and not feel anxiety over picking it up and checking my text messages, right? Like, that's real. I have a test or a big, project that's due, and I have to be on this call, and I'm feeling nervous and anxious about that. That's real too. I get it. Jot down something that you're going to relieve yourself from the next little bit of time. It will be there when we are done. I promise you, it will be there. But in the meantime, give yourself some permission, set it aside. Literally, if you write it down, you can literally set it aside if you need to, and just kind of be present in this space. Okay, so take a breath, give yourself a pass. In addition to that, it's always important to me that people in my spaces are cared for, that we are nurturing nurturers, right? We are certainly all caring for other people. And it's important to me that you take a minute to create some sort of self-care plan. So if you're writing on a paper, you don't have to, mimic exactly what's on my screen right now, but I want you to look at the headings. So something for your mind, something for your body, something for your spirit. Think about who is the support in your life and a goal that you want to accomplish. I'm going to give you a minute. So for example, something that you do for your mind, you might disconnect from your phone. You might read. You might listen to music. You might exercise. You might eat mindfully. You might spend time, gardening, or whatever it is, that playing music, making music, listening to music. That's a good example of something that you could do for your mind. So I'd like you to take a minute and identify at least one thing for each of these categories. So what are you doing for your mind? What do you do for your body? What do you do for your spirit? How do you take care of yourself? So keeping in mind, body could be that you're exercising, but it could also be that you're drinking water. It could be that you're not drinking, soda or sugary beverages or, Monster Energy drinks all the time. Your spirit, what do you think and see? What do you surround yourself with? Who fills you up? Who are your supports? And what is the goal? Something minimal that you want to accomplish. It could be something you want to accomplish today. It doesn't have to be some big long-term goal. So mind, body, spirit. And I want you to take this with you, not just for our time together, but something that you can take with you wherever you go, especially in the space of COVID and the climate of our country. You need to be taking care of yourself. It is the most important thing from my perspective, more than anything else you could be doing for your health. Are you giving yourself the space to be centered and grounded, to take care of your mind, to take care of your body, to nurture your spirit? And are you surrounded by people that support you? Okay, so keep that there. If anything I say in any way brings on discomfort, sometimes discomfort is a good thing and sometimes not. If you feel activated by something that we discuss, if you have thoughts that kind of, elevate you, please take a minute, go to your safety plan, give yourself a pass, take care of yourself. Okay, so now that we have that stuff out of the way, I would love for you, wherever you are, I don't know, I can't see anybody, so this is sort of a strange experience, but I would love for you to take a minute and just roll your shoulders back down your chest and maybe loosen your neck a little bit. And I would love for you, if you're comfortable, to just let your eyes close gently. So you can all see me, I can't see you. So this is how we're going to do it. Do what's comfortable for you. Of course, I just said that. You do what's right and comfortable for you. But I would love to be in space with you for a minute. Just close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And I want you to picture a container. Make sure that there's a lid. Make sure that you're breathing. I want you to imagine depositing any of your negative or difficult thoughts, feelings, responsibilities. I want you to put them all in the container. Make sure that you're breathing and know that it's temporary. They will be there when you need to get back to them. Put the lid on the container. Seal it up tightly. Take a breath. Exhale. And know that when you're ready to deal with them, they'll be there for you. But for now, in this space, you can focus on other things, your well-being, your quality of your breath, being in this place and doing something amazing for yourself. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Take one more cleansing breath. Thank you for being in that space with me. And we are ready to move forward. So when I think about health, clearly we could talk about all of these things. We could talk about your autoimmune health, your thyroid health, your adrenal health, your diabetes, brain and mood, heart disease, hormonal imbalance. We could talk about infertility. We could talk about STDs. We could talk about reproductive health and weight management. Typically, people think we're going to talk about weight management. That is a part of health for sure. But the bigger part that I want to talk about is just your unique journey, where you are today and where you're headed. So we could talk about all of those things. We could talk about things like these. So here's a great list. Steps you can take to stay healthy and safe while you're in college. I predict that these are not new to you. You are familiar with the concept of eating a balanced diet, of getting enough sleep, of drinking plenty of water, even if you're not doing it. And I want you to listen as we go through these and think about like, oh yeah, I know that's important and I don't do it. That might be something you can focus on later as we kind of work through. Getting physical activity, maintaining your health with checkups and vaccinations. The cool thing about the Penn State system, and I was able to look around on the site a little bit, is that you guys have awesome resources and accessibility to health and support and therapy and counseling services. And so even if in your hometown or at your home space, you're not connected with a doctor or a primary care physician, you have access to things now that you may not have had before. So keep that in mind. If you decide that you're going to be sexually active, for sure, practicing safe sex, that is something that, a lot of times people don't want to talk about it. We talk a lot about consent in sexual relationships and sort of how we navigate those relationships. I know it's not always comfortable for everyone, but it's an important part of your health, right? Are you taking care of those components of your health? Are you keeping yourself safe? Are you keeping your partner safe? So keeping that in mind. Making smart choices about alcohol and drugs, and getting help if you're stressed and depressed. College is a great time to access those resources if you have never done so in the past. It's also a culminating time in your life where it's important that you're getting that help. And I just wanted to kind of put a plug in here for something amazing that's happening on your campus right now. Ending the stigma about drug addiction and alcohol. A lot of us come into college not having any type of addiction or issues, but we might come out on a different page, right? And so the more we talk about it, the more we destigmatize it, the easier it is for people to get help. So I just wanted to put that out there. I hope you're seeing some signs of this around campus. There's some cool stuff happening right in your backyard. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to do a little quiz with me. So I would love for you to, on your piece of paper, you're just going to write a Y for yes and an N for no. Nobody is going to see this. I am going to ask you, I'm having a hard time seeing the chat, so I am going to ask you to put a total number in the chat when we get to the bottom of this, but not yet. So I'm going to ask you, I think it's 15 questions. Y for yes, generally yes. N for no, typically no. So of course there are always exclusions, and I know that there are some people who are like, Kelly, but like I want you to be specific. Like, what does this say? Go with your gut, yes or no. So do you, number one, keep up with your physical appearance? Y for yes, N for no on your paper. You don't need to be writing these in the chat. Just write it down. Y or no. Do you, yes or no, exercise regularly? Eat healthy meals? It's just a quick gut reaction. Get restful sleep. Go to work and school or complete tasks. I think a lot of people have seen a shift in some of these things. Do you adapt easily to change? Yes or no, gut reaction, Y or N? Do you keep up your living space, which I realize could be a dorm room, it could be shared community space, it could be an apartment, it might be your childhood bedroom, it could be any of those things. Do you take constructive criticism well? Do you accept praise? Do you laugh at funny things? Does laughter come easily to you? Are you able to acknowledge your needs and feelings? Or do you prefer to keep stuff down? Do you engage with new interests and opportunities? Do you relax without alcohol and other drugs? Do you value yourself? And do you feel and express gratitude regularly? So take a minute and go through. I would love for you to add up the number of yeses. And I'm going to try to figure out how I can see this better. And I would love for you to put the number of yes responses in the chat.
Kelly, it's Dawn. If you can't see it, I can feed it to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I can't see it.
Okay.
So I'm curious on some numbers. I just want total yeses, and I don't need to hear them all. I just am interested to hear a couple of responses. Total number of yes.
Well, I had 11 yeses. Somebody had 5. Another person had 11.
Okay.
7, 12.
Awesome.
10,
Thank you for sharing that. Awesome.
4.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you guys can see the continuum, right? We're kind of all over the place. There are some of us that have high numbers, some of us that have low. I'm not going to read you like if you have from 1 to 4, you have this. If you have from 5 to 8, here's what I can tell you. This is a list of healthy behaviors that college students might have in place. The higher your number, the closer you are to your personal healthfulness. So if your number is lower, take a minute and think about what type of thing you might want to try or do or change or enhance or uplift or connect to that might get that number up. Just one thing, right? We're not trying to change whole systems here. We're talking about one small step that we can take to enhance or change. So if I had an 11, what are my 3 or 4 that I didn't answer yes to? What are the things that I might be struggling with? Okay. So I want you to kind of keep that in your back pocket for a minute. And I appreciate you sharing outwardly. We are all coming from different settings, and I should have said up front, as a coach, judgment's never part of my gig. That's the cool part about this job. My job is to come at things curiously and to help people find their best version of themselves. So wherever you are is right where you are meant to be. Where you go from here is up to you. So keep that in mind. So I wanted to just kind of really quickly, I'll come back to this. So I could have showed you that. I showed you that list of all the different health topics. We talked about healthy behaviors for college students. We looked at some of our own personal healthy behaviors. And some might say right now, but we're dealing with so much disappointment. Like this isn't even a fair time to assess our health. And I agree with you. You are dealing with disappointment. We all are, and you are entitled to feel that disappointment. It's discouraging at times. It can feel overwhelming and heavy. It can feel depressing. We are in it, and it stinks a lot of the time. But here's what we need to be careful of, right? When we're talking about our health, you deserve a sense of well-being, right? We all do. We deserve to have some sense of well-being in our day-to-day lives. And when we feel bad all the time, our actions and our feelings reflect, or our thoughts reflect that. So you need to, what I would love to encourage you to do is to think for a few minutes about what a benefit of this disappointment might be. If you have not been able to see a silver lining, if it just feels very gloom and doom, it is at times, right? And nobody, I'm hopeful that in your lives you have people who support that and recognize it and allow you to live in your space the way that it feels for you. But I don't want you to get stuck in misalignment. I don't want you to start to feel that everything is this way because some elements are. So just take this as a moment to pause. You don't need to write anything, but I just want you to kind of take a second and weigh in on how big is the disappointment in preventing me from living my best life right now, right? So just kind of a wisdom that I wanted to share. And the other piece of this is about how the feelings and thoughts affect your actions, right? So if you want to throw some things in the chat, if you can think about some common negative thoughts that students might have or that you yourself have. So what are the things that constantly are circulating in our minds right now that might be impacting our actions? And Dawn, if you see some things pop up, feel free just to call them out. I'm thinking about, our level of our ability to be successful, right? The pressure that we have on us of not being good enough. We have a lot of that happening right now. Many of you, I presume, have a parent more engaged in your space and in your life than you would have maybe preferred or than you've been accustomed to. And so sometimes those messages are, although intended to be supportive, sometimes have a negative impact. And so then we end up with these negative thoughts. So listing some common negative thoughts of just, I don't have the energy, I'm not enough, I don't feel connected, I have a hard time making friends, and this is going to be even harder for me. Socially, this is hard. I'm not taking care of my body the way that I wanted to, right? I'm not. All of these you should statements, all of the things that really have a big cost to you. And we know that exercise is powerful treatment, and we know that it provides fuel and food for thought and all of the positive, wonderful things. But when we're stuck in this, it's sometimes hard to get motivated to even get moving. And so I just want you to contemplate that for a minute, and think through what is the recurring message that's coming up for you. What are the things that are kind of resonating that you're carrying with you on a day-to-day, and how might you put those in that container that we developed and close the lid for a minute and start telling a different story. Okay, so all of those things, it's all part of health. But what I really want to focus on for us here now in this space is really minding the gap. So you can see on the screen, what do we want more of? So I want you to think about that. What do you want more of? And what do you want less of? So if I need to make some changes in my health journey, and I know I want more motivation for exercise, and I want less feeling lethargic and tired, then I can start to direct my decisions on helping those two things come into balance, right? If I want more connection to friends and I want less isolation, I need to start thinking about how to make those things happen. If I want more of a chance to connect at school and less of isolation, how might I do that? If I want to move more, if I want to eat better, if I want to drink more water, if I want to get more sleep, I want more of this thing. I want to drink and drug less. I want to smoke less. I want to quit vaping. All of those things, right? Like we have all these different crutches and all these different levels on this continuum of health, that it could just be something simple like, I want to go to bed earlier. Well, it's not simple, especially if we are addicted to our screens and looking at our screens all the time and scrolling endlessly. That's a challenge, right? So really what I want you to focus on is we're going to try to close some of the gap between an aspiration or a goal that you have and the way you practice it, the values that you have. So it's not about beating ourselves up for things that aren't done. It's really about identifying where you're out of alignment. So where are things not lining up for you, and moving into how we can remedy that. Okay. So it takes a little bit of commitment. I'm asking for your trust and maybe a little bit of vulnerability that you're able to kind of identify some of these things. And if you're willing, even share them so other people can kind of see that they're not alone. Because here's the one thing I can guarantee you, you're not alone, right? I thought it was just me. Chances are that's not the case. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through 5 steps towards transformational change. We're going to step back. We're going to let go. We're going to say yes. We're going to take empowered action, and we're going to set up accountability. And so I think I have about 20 minutes. And so we're going to spend a couple minutes on each step, and I'll ask for you to put things in the chat so we can kind of like work through it together. So if we're ready, here we go. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, take a deep breath, clear your mind, and here we go. Okay, so The first part of making transformational change in our lives is taking a step back to assess what is not working and where in our lives we are hitting roadblocks. So I chose images that represent the things I want you to think about. And on your sheet or whatever you're writing on, I would love for you to, hopefully it's obvious that the first picture is a drain. I want you to think for a minute and maybe make a list of 3 or 4 things that are draining you. What are the things that steal your energy? Things that you either give yourself freely to. So is it video games? Is it, I love the concept of doom scrolling, right? Scrolling endlessly, which maybe isn't creating much energy or power for you. Is it a lot of self-care? Do you need to take a lot of rest right now? And so it's kind of, even though it's supposed to be filling you up, it's actually draining your productivity. So I'll stop talking for a second so you can think, what is draining you from being the very best version of yourself? And then the opposite of that, what's filling you up? Our ability to be filled right now is limited, right? We're certainly at a distance from our relationships, the people that keep us full and whole. We don't get to do the activities that we might love to do. If it's a healthy activity and we love going to the gym, or we love taking certain classes, or we feel like we don't have access to those things right now, what are the things that you can do right now that are filling you up? So is it, I don't know, talking with friends? You might feel like watching Instagram is filling you up, right? You might feel like staying connected on social media fills you up, but I want you to really pause for a minute and think about, is it only filling you up, or is it also draining you of something, right? So there's this balance that needs to occur. So we've got what drains you. What fills us up? Is it self-care? Is it getting outside? Is it being in nature? Is it being with friends? Is it reading? Is it yoga? Is it taking a hot bath? Is it listening to music? Is it to creating music? Is it to creating other things with your hands? What are the things that fill you up? This is part of your health journey, right? When we do the things that fill us up and we are full in the world, we are healthier versions of ourselves. You might find that you eat better, you sleep better, you drink more water, you're motivated, right? So these are all interconnected. There's no one thing that determines your health. And then finally, the mirror. So this might be a little bit challenging for some of us, and I'm asking you to be really vulnerable in a space that you might not be comfortable doing that, and that is totally fine. Think of your self-care plan, do what's right for you, sit back, take a breath. If you choose not to answer, you are not required to answer. So we have what drains you, we have what fills you up. So hopefully you're creating some lists. And then the third thing I want to know is, what do you see when you look in the mirror? So the top 3 things that you see or feel when you look at yourself in the mirror. And these might be, it could be confidence, and it could be something painful. Like I feel, I might see some failure. I might feel like I'm not doing the best that I can do. I might feel overwhelmed. I might see depression. I might see anxiety. I might see joy, but I might see confusion. Right? So what are the things that kind of embody you right now? And then the final piece of this. So what drains you? What fills you? What do you see when you look in the mirror? And what do you want more of? So final question for step 1, stepping back. If you were to imagine your most vibrant, healthy version of yourself, this shining light, right? Like this just amazing version of yourself. What does it look like and feel like for you? What has to be in place? What do you want more of? So take a minute. And if you're willing to share your more of in the chat, I would love to hear some of them so I can kind of understand what you're working towards. I'm going to make some assumptions about some of the draining and some of the energizing. But I'd love to hear what you want more of.
Kelly, someone has reported that they want more social interactions.
Yes.
Actually, as someone that teaches a lot of first-year students, and teaches a first-year seminar class, I'm hearing that a lot.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of that is probably because of our COVID situation.
Yeah. So creating spaces for more social interactions. So that's intentional, and that impacts our health for sure. So let's go to the next step. So you have this list, you've kind of identified what you want more of. So the next step is really about letting go, right? So if we want to bring something else into our lives and our health journey, we need to let something shed. We need to shed something. We need to let something go. So transformation is a continual process of letting go. We are always having to let things go to make room for new things. You have to let go of something to reach the next stage of your evolution. Okay, so this is a paradigm of a health coaching protocol. So I'm wondering, and this is your next question, the next thing that you'd be writing on your sheet is, what stops you from having it right now? So what is stopping you from having that thing that you want? And I want to press you to think beyond COVID, right? COVID could be the answer to most of our questions. We could be saying COVID to many of these things. But I want to push a little bit beyond that. It's the circumstances that COVID has created, but what specifically is stopping you? So we know we can't be in super familiar space with people face to face, but we do know that there are some options, right? There are some ways to connect with people. What's keeping you from connecting with people in a healthy, safe way now? So maybe that is part of it. If you're wanting more exercise, or you're wanting to eat better, what's stopping you from having that right now? Is it the person who's doing the grocery shopping? Is it your access to healthy food? Is it your living arrangement? Could it be your schedule, right? Could it be maybe you feel a sense of addiction to, or you're tethered to your device constantly and it really is taking energy out of you all the time? So that has to maybe be managed first. Your barrier might be your dependency on your screen. That's absolutely true and real for a lot of people. So if anybody's willing in the chat right now, just drop it in there. What stops you from having what you want? What do you need to let go of? So what is it that's getting in your way? What's your barrier?
Kelly, our attendee that said that the social interactions were in the way also reported that their anxiety about people's intentions about being friends is a concern. And someone else reported that they don't feel they can share their answers to the questions you're asking, and that's their
fine.
problem.
Yep, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. And that is why I talked about self-care for sure. Typically in this kind of a conversation, we'd be in space together where everybody would be on the same page and we would establish some space and rules for safety and non-judgment. It's harder to do in this space. So I appreciate whoever said that. I respect and appreciate your willingness to say, I can go through this process, but I'm not willing to share. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm asking for a lot of vulnerability right now. And I recognize that for some people, you know, especially maybe if you're higher up on that list of number of healthy behaviors, you might be like, oh, I just have this one little thing. So as long as you're working through it, that's totally fine. And we can always talk about how to connect in the future as well. Okay. So hopefully everybody has a barrier. All right. So what I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. So I want you to think for a minute about what it would look and feel like. So go back to that thing that you want. And you might need to close your eyes. I'm a very visual, close my eyes and like really process and think things through. So I want you to pause for a minute and maybe take a breath. And I want you to notice some qualities of a time in the past when you had that thing, or if you've never had it, what you think it might look like when you do have it. I want you to kind of step into that space for a minute and just try it on. What would it look like and feel like if you had that thing? So you can borrow from your past, or you can borrow from your future if you need to. But just thinking for a minute. Imagine yourself having this thing that enhances your health and wellness, and step into that future version of yourself. And you can kind of put your heart where their heart is and put your hands where their hands are and just kind of picture that and see how it feels. My hope for you is that you feel empowered and that you feel enlightened and you might feel a little bit of trepidation or fear, but that ultimately there's a little piece of, if I was at the prime of my fitness, if I was enhancing my workouts, if I was holding plank for a longer period of time, if I was eating locavore, a new term that I heard lately. If I was only eating local food, what might my body do? How might I transform? If I was drinking more water, if I was getting more sleep, if I was connecting more socially, who do I become? How do I vibrate? Where's my energy if I'm doing those things? Okay, so we try it on. And then we really need to think about how to take action. So I'm hoping that you're able to kind of follow along with me and at least loosely outline this process of like, here's this really big thing that I know I need to change. Here are the barriers. Here are the things that are keeping me from making that change. Here's what it's going to look like and feel like when I achieve it. And also, here's how I'm going to do it. And this is often the hardest part. But what I want to say, I mean, I love this concept on the screen. The vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes time. Vision with action can change the world. You can be part of a revolution. I love this, right? Transformation is possible for us. Whatever your habits have been, whatever choices you've made in the past, your brain has this amazing neuroplasticity that allows it to start new pathways. Right? So what was doesn't have to be what is or what will be. That's a choice we get to make. And it might be hard and the thing you're facing might feel insurmountable, but it can be done. Know that, right? We have that in us. So I want you to think on a scale of 1 to 10, and maybe you're willing to put this number in the chat because it doesn't tell us anything about what you're focused on. How committed are you to making a change towards this end? So 1 being, yeah, I'm really not very committed. I can't really focus, or I can't take it seriously, or I don't really know. I'm kind of confused. I need to think on it a little bit. I need to reflect. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated do you feel to make a change? So I'm working on my fitness goals right now. So like, that's a big thing. I need to be motivated. It takes a lot of motivation. It's a lot easier to stay in bed and sleep a little bit longer and have a cup of coffee and 10 of the million other things that needs to happen than it is for me to get my sneakers on and get out the door and get moving. So it takes a lot of extra energy to make that happen. I have to commit wholeheartedly or it doesn't happen. So if you're willing to kind of put that in there on a scale of 1 to 10, how willing would you be to make a change in your health? When would you be willing to do it? You don't need to put this in the chat, just kind of in your mind. Like, could I do it today? Like, am I committed today? Think through.
I'm sorry. Yep. Someone reported that they're at the level of 3. They're afraid of the changes that they want, but that's the only one that's posted in the chat so far.
That's fine. So a three says to me that there's a little bit of ambivalence or trepidation over moving forward. And I might direct a person at a 3 to go back to their what they want and dig a little bit deeper. What's beneath that? So whatever it is that you said, what is it that you really want? So if we're talking about fitness, am I really talking about I just want to be, this is an example, so am I really talking about I just want to be more fit and I want to do the work and I want to, work out more because that's what I want to do on paper? Or is it really because I don't feel great in my skin right now, or my clothes aren't fitting the way that I want them to be fitting, or I don't have the energy that I feel like I should have? What's it really about? So when you're at a 3 to 4 range, maybe go back and kind of think a little bit deeper about the why under the why. What is it that's underneath that? And then I just want you to think about what's one thing that you could do or commit to. One thing, not a whole plan of a million different goals, not all the SMART goals that have all the different pieces and whatever. One thing that you could do to take a step towards change. One thing. Maybe just one time. Right? It starts with one choice, repeated over time, becoming a habit. I will drink 1 glass of water today. That's it. And then I'm going to ask you, what's the barrier to that? Right? So what might your barrier be? So if I'm not fully committed on a scale of 1 to 10, and I say I'm going to drink 1 glass of water today, I'm going to come up with some barriers, right? I'm going to put some things in my own way to prevent myself from finding success. So we talk about barriers because we need to dismantle them. We need to eliminate them, right? So thinking through, well, we don't have filtered water. We're out of filtered water right now. So I probably can't, I don't have the glass I like to drink out of. We're out of ice. I don't have proximity. I leave my house in the morning with a water bottle, and when it's empty, I have nowhere to fill it up. Like, these are all the types of things. Social circles, not trusting that people are authentic with their intentions is scary. It's a barrier. We could definitely let that stay in our way. Maybe it's more about shifting our mindset to assume positive intent and to acknowledge that sometimes impact is hard, but that it's real, right? It happens. So there might be some barriers or things that you need to clear out. And that really is the last one there, is clearing out. So what do you need to get rid of in order to make a better choice for yourself? Okay. So hopefully you know what you want more of. You identified, you've tried it on, you've looked at what it could look like in the future, you've thought about the barriers and the commitment. And then the last piece of it, and I love this concept, and I'm fortunate that when I think of my 5, I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm pretty fortunate. And it was with intention. If you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, take a second, jot them down. The 5 people you spend the most time with. So I kind of look at people as energy givers and energy takers. And so if I look at my list of 5 and I recognize that 4 of the 5 are energy takers and aren't pouring into me or helping me elevate, I might need to think about my 5, right? Right now, it's kind of hard because we're sort of stuck in the house, and I have 3 kids and my husband's here. So like 4 of the 5 live with me. It's not always ideal, right? It's not the best. Oh my gosh, I'm like my 9-year-old son. And sometimes I am, and my sense of humor sometimes relates to him. And I think, all right, this isn't so bad. It brings me a lot of laughter and goofiness and immaturity, and I'm grateful for that. But my 14-year-old daughter, like, sometimes I don't want to be part of that 5, right? I don't always I don't want teenage angst to be the thing. So who are you connected to? And really think about how that reflects you. And if you are connected, if you're struggling, especially if you're struggling with, concerns around addiction or self-harm or anything that, always seek professional help, and you have resources like that at school. This is a much bigger conversation. And I am not in any way, I have a lot of addiction history in my family, a lot of loss in my family. And so I would never minimize that to say, like, here you go, here's a Band-Aid. You can fix your health in 2 seconds. It can be done. It's hard work. It's hard work for sure. But you are not alone. There are lots of people like me out here who have been through it, who have survived it, who have thrived in the aftermath. People care, right? Intentions are good. And you have people in your health center who can support you as well. So I want you to think about, if you're going to make this change, who needs to be in your circle? So look at your 5. Is there somebody that needs to be maybe downgraded a little bit? Is there somebody that you need to spend more time with because they fill you up and they make you feel whole and they prioritize your health and well-being the way that you would expect somebody in relationship with you to do so? How much support do you need? Do you need an accountability partner? Do you need to reach out to a friend and say, hey, I'm feeling socially isolated. I don't know what to do here. Can you help? Can we do it together? Could we try to find a meeting or a group, an advocacy group? Right now, there's so many advocacy groups out there. What do you care about? If you want to connect socially, go find some websites and some groups and some people that are meeting on racial justice or social justice, or I don't know, whatever it is that lights you up, that lights your fire and keeps you motivated. You have a voice. You are not helpless right now. And I think that sometimes youth feel like, you're not being heard, or that your collective voice is probably the most powerful thing we have going for us right now. So find a way to get connected, right? Talk to somebody who's doing it. Here's another way. Look at a person in your life who has what you think you want, and do what they're doing. They're already doing it. It already works for them. So just mimic what they're doing and see how that plays out in your life, right? So again, think about who inspires you. Think of a request you need to make of another person to get connected. Think about how much support you need. And then make the choice, right? Your health is your wealth. We talk about it a lot. The thing that you have left at the end of the day, the thing that will keep money in the bank because you don't need to, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on medical bills or dental bills or, right, like all of the things that you don't think about when you're young. You have this long length of time to live. We're not worried about it. But in reality, our health is the thing that can either make us wealthy, right? So invest in it now, or the opposite of that. It can be one of the most costly things for us not to pay attention to. And I am not just talking about your physical health. I'm talking about your mental health, your spiritual health, your body health, right? All of those things, your sleep health, your nutritional health, all of it. It's all a package. So don't disregard any one piece of that. And focus on the thing that feels right to you right now. We're in a trying time. If it doesn't feel right to say, I'm going to go try to run a 5K, although it's a great time of year to get out and start running. It's beautiful outside and fresh air is good for all of us. Don't focus on that. Focus on just wearing your sneakers and going for a 5-minute walk to de-stress, right? It could be something minimal. One thing with intention can change everything. So I really just want to say, I kind of just said it, that if you breathe in the positivity and you really let that be the peace of mind and the thoughts and the feelings that motivate and propel you, it's not always easy. It is easy to have sometimes that negative self-talk be the thing that guides you. But I really want you to focus on replacing those negative thoughts with positive intentions and positive goals that are, could change your life. We deserve it. We are capable of it. We are resourced for it. Check out your health center. If nothing else comes out of this, I hope that you at least get online and look to your health center for all of the ways that they can support you. A recent college poll told us that 50% of college students consider themselves to be in good health overall. 50%. I felt like that was probably a good thing. I feel like a lot of times adults look at college students and think like they're not doing it the way we would like them to do it, or they're not doing it in the best way that they possibly could. 50% are. 50% are on task, right? I don't know that I could have said I was one of those 50% when I was in college. I also didn't know that anxiety could be a disorder. Nobody was talking about trauma and the impacts, right? Like the cool thing about this time is that people are aware. They're waking up. They're coming out of the basement to be like, wait a minute, all their past history and their stories and all the things we carry with us matter. They matter in our ability to be our best selves going forward. Seek out the help and support. Take lots of deep breaths. Get grounded outside. Do the things that feel right to you. Those things that are draining you, let them go. Let them go. And look at the things that are filling you up and figure out how to get more of those things in your life. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the invitation to spend these moments with you all. I want to just say this is a shameless plug for the YW. If you are a young woman between the ages of 18 and 25, we are embarking on a new journey of a program called Young Women Rising, and we are looking at really eliminating geographic restrictions so we can really connect virtually. But really this is the connection. If you're looking for connection, this could be a great place for you as a young woman. We have big goals for getting to the YW World Council meeting in 3 years, which could be anywhere in the world. We're looking at advocating for women and girls all over the world. So if you're interested or passionate in any of those things, the UN Commission on the Status of Women, I'll leave my email is here. Please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. That was really, really amazing. And I feel much more relaxed when I think about the things that I want to give up and I want to pour into. And just as a little personal thing, I am grateful for you for all the ways you pour into me all the time. So thank you. Kelly is a friend of mine out there group, and she's just wonderful in terms of all the things that she can provide. I will provide that contact information in our archive later on today, but I am opening up our question and answer pod. Does anybody have any questions that we could ask our presenter today? Anyone out there? And I did get, Kelly, there are some thank yous in the chat. So thank you from some of our attendees here. Is there any questions that anybody has? While you're thinking of that, Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about, I know that you've done the certification for the health coaching, and I know that you've kind of married that with your formal education and what you've done through the YW. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So my journey was really, I started as in high school education and realized that connecting with youth was really the thing I'm most passionate about. And then what I realized is that without going back to school to formally study through a social work or counseling degree, I needed to come up with a way to understand how the implications of health are related to to adolescent development. And so I remember watching this. I sat on a webinar, I think, for the Become a Health Coach Institute, and I got off the phone like I was floating, like spinning and like I was saying to my husband, like, "Oh my gosh, I found my thing. This is it. This is what I've been searching for." And you were there for part of that journey, and it took me a while, right? It wasn't seamless. It didn't go exactly the way that I had thought that it would, but it has empowered me to do this work in spaces that where social justice is still at the forefront, and like thinking about how we can connect our health and well-being to bigger issues in the world and empowering women and girls especially. And so I do some coaching on the side, very little right now, but I work with some teens privately. And of course I'm open to that as Grow Girl Transformations. And just really helping people become their best selves and figure out what's in their way. Like, what a rewarding job. I say all the time. I loved being an English teacher because I got to read literature with students. I thought that was the best job ever. And now I'm doing this, and I think like there's no better job than this work. So
I appreciate you sharing that. And, hopefully some of our audience will hear that your journey wasn't necessarily linear, but because, you eventually got there, you were able to really put into who you are now, everything that you had experienced. One of our attendees is asking about relaxation techniques. Is there anything, I love the little jar analogy, but is there anything else that you can give us that we could put into our little toolbox for relaxation?
Yeah, so I can give you I'll give you one or two really quick things. These take practice. They are not things that you can just, take and run with necessarily without any practice. What I did with you earlier in the container, you can do that anywhere. So first of all, the cool thing about relaxation is that nobody knows you're doing it, right? You can be in the most stressful situation when you feel your anxiety rising and the nervousness and the sweat and your heart beating. You can totally relax yourself and trick your brain into thinking it's relaxed by breathing. So one of the easiest breathing techniques that I suggest to kids, well, first of all, if you haven't seen it, you can use your hand, just breathing in and out, right? Breathing in, breathing out. We call it a star breath. So you could do that under your desk. You could do it while you're having a conversation. You can do it in a lot of different ways people would never see. What you activate in your brain when you bring in calm and collected and meaningful intentional breathing, you move to your front, right? So you want to get out of that reactive fight flight weird space where you end up when you're stressed. By breathing intentionally, you trick your brain into thinking that you're relaxed, and in reaction, it relaxes all of those systems. So you can do a star breath. The other thing that you can do, I call 5-5-7 breathing. Simple, through your nose. You're breathing in for 5. You're holding for 5. And you're exhaling for 7. This is the one I say most often in my house, 5-5-7. I do it all the time. When my neck feels tight, when my shoulders feel tight, in for 5, hold for 5, out for 7. And that system and that methodology in the space and the counting is what we know to be effective for minimizing panic. So that is in your pocket. You can do it anywhere. Nobody knows that you're doing it. Nobody can see it. It's like a powerful superpower that you can have that nobody knows. I use it all the time.
I love that. And as somebody that teaches public speaking here at Penn State Berks, I'm going to use some of those things in my classroom for my students to help those that have that upper level of anxiety. Last question before we end our time today. You did make a little plug for the young women in our audience to perhaps align with the YWCA and your program that's going on. Do you have any resources for our young men if they are interested in connecting with something? Or is that something that I can provide later?
Yeah, so I could send you a couple of resources, some things that come to mind. I mean, the YW, I actually am really pleased to say that we've just expanded our reach to start to include young men, especially high school and beyond, in a program called The Council. and it is based in a lot of these same theories and responsive techniques to managing stress and wellness. I was fortunate to go through that training, and I have to say to the guys out there, I mean, it's really challenging. You have so many women in the helping fields, right? And so it makes it hard for them to access. I didn't fully understand some of the unique challenges that young men face in their responsibilities and their roles and kind of what we've put in place for them as a society. That's real. It's real, and you need a place to be able to process some of those things. Your health center is awesome for that, but absolutely reach out if you're willing and interested. I've just added a phenomenal coach to my team who he is so excited to start this program and process for boys and young men. So I can't not say that we would love to be in contact. And we have a lot of AmeriCorps Vista volunteers and a lot of other interns that come in and out of our spaces that are men and women, right? We're predominantly women, but we have a lot of young men that come through and just want to do the work. So, you know, I would love to think that we are a resource to some degree.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And I will, with your permission, share your contact information on our archives. If that's okay, we can talk about that later.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Kelly Grosser, for chatting with us today, just for the health of it. I've been dying to try to get that in there. We appreciate you and you're committing your time to our LionSide Chats here at Penn State Berks. And a special thank you to our audience and all of you for joining us today. As you click out of our webinar, you'll be directed to a survey, and we appreciate all of your feedback that you can provide on today's chat and chats for our future. You're encouraged to reach out to us via email or to check out our website. We have a couple of additional chats coming up. We actually have a chat tomorrow night that I did not put in our slide here. And that is, I can't remember that title right now, but you can check it out on our website. Also, we have another We Are series, We Are Resilient, next week, Wednesday at the Common Hour. And next Friday, the 6th of November, is our next installment in the Race 101 Critical Conversations, which is our partnership with the Social Justice Collaborative. So be sure to come back and meet with us soon and learn a little bit from our faculty, staff, students, and our colleagues in the community as we all learn from each other and share really important information. So stay safe, Berks and beyond. Signing off until next time, this has been Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Kelly.